Welcome to the CURES digital show and podcast where we explore the leading edge of wellness. I'm Kara Sundlin. This episode is sponsored by the Center for Advanced Reproductive Services. So here's a question. Is your work aligned with your purpose? And how can you make money, a lot of money, and still fuel your soul instead of selling it out? My guest today is Stephanie Heath. She's the founder of Soulwork Six Figures. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you, Kara.
So I was reading about you, and I know you're the daughter of Jamaican immigrants who actually, I guess, once upon a time yourself, you suffered from what we call imposter syndrome. And now you're helping clients overcome that, and you teach a holistic approach to achieve your dream job and dream salary. A lot of people might be saying, is that really possible?
Absolutely. I don't think people realize that right now is such a candidate's market. Just following the pandemic, people are redefining where they're going into work, how that looks, hybrid models, et cetera. And then just with, some of the things that's happened recently with Me Too and George Floyd, companies are doing a lot more to really think about their employees' health. And so the candidates have the market. They can, define where they like to go and really hone back in on what makes them happy and use that to explore different companies versus it being the opposite way some time ago.
I wanted to take a step back and ask you, what led you to found your company? What led you to create your company, Soulwork?
Yeah, so I actually started a company called Soulwork and Selfies in 2017. It did not go well. It was a company devoted to helping women step up in self-esteem and confidence. And so my sister told me, she said, you've built a career as a recruiter. You've been head of recruitment. You've worked for every investment bank, Sony, Amazon. And so why don't you instead just offer job search coaching and kind of couple it with stepping up in terms of leadership and confidence in the workforce? And that's how Soulwork and Six Figures came to be.
Yeah, and so if someone is listening to this and asking, well, what's my greater purpose or soul work? How would you start to determine that?
Right. So I'd invite them to take a weekend, let your friends and family know that you're going to need some time for yourself. And we have a market value guide on the website, Soulwork and Selfies. It's free. It's a PDF document. It's called those questions to really hone in on, what makes me happy? What am I good at that I'd like to retire? What am I good at that I'd like to do more of? Looking at your life holistically. So, what have I accomplished in life that I'm proud of? Did I have a child? Did I climb Mount Everest? And then looking at your career as a whole, or this past year as a whole, and really just falling back in love with yourself and then deciding on what you'd like to make be your next step in terms of your career.
So what if what you really love to do is something totally different than what you're doing right now?
So those are our favorite clients. We get them all the time. If you have volunteer experience, maybe you like social media management and you help your church out and you run their Instagram account. You can use that to craft a resume. You can highlight it and speak to it on interviews. So, give yourself 6 months. Maybe you want to do more of something that you've only done on a volunteer basis. Get a few more clients or get a little bit more of that experience under your belt, and then start to build out your resume and your LinkedIn with that new information. It happens all the time. You do it often here.
Or maybe it's switching careers. And I know part of what you do is you find soul work and six figures. So this means you're going to have you're going to probably need some credentials to get those six figures, right? Or how do you get that?
Yeah, actually. So I think there was an article that came out yesterday, definitely for tech, that your degree is more irrelevant now. And so in the tech space, of course, they just want to see, your experience, what have you coded recently, et cetera, et cetera. But no, some roles will need you to be certified, for example, PMP certified or Scrum certified. But for the most part, we work with clients that are targeting all different corporate positions, whether it be just traditional corporate marketing, communications, et cetera, or even creative. And we can typically, you don't need to be certified in everything. We usually try to not push our clients to go back to school, because you really just need to know how you're speaking about the experience that you do have, feeling confident about it so that a company can take a chance on you, and making sure that you have high enough of an application strategy so that you're getting more and more interviews.
So how can people make great money doing what they love? I know that's what you do, but what's the big mistake they make?
Okay, the biggest mistake candidates make when they're negotiating an offer is not realizing that it starts and it happens on the first call. So if you're out there watching and you are starting the application process and you're taking some interviews, take some time to benchmark yourself. Go on websites like payscale.com or salary.com, Glassdoor, join some private affinity groups like Slack channels, Discord channels, Facebook groups for women or for, baby boomers, whatever, and really understand what you can ask for, and then arm yourself with that information on the first call, because the recruiter is going to ask you, what are you targeting? What are your salary requirements? And make sure that you're asking for more than what you need, so that when you negotiate down, you're still landing at a really secure and safe spot.
So, what's a tip to negotiate from a more powerful soul level? Women, especially, have maybe a problem with this of really asking. Should you go in with a number you want, or is that the wrong first step?
So that is the wrong first step, Kara, but no worries at all. Definitely ask for the number higher than you want, or even higher than the market dictates. So let's say you know what the low range is, mid and max, and maybe companies like Meta or Amazon usually pay at the top, but the companies that you're interviewing with aren't paying that much. You should still be quoting them that Meta base salary, and you should still be tacking on at least 5K, 10K, 15K more than that, just so that, again, when they negotiate you down, you're still happy with that final number. And I would say for women, everyone can negotiate. My clients, myself included, we're all soft-spoken people. We're not very confrontational. You can be yourself during the negotiation process. Just, ask questions more, have water next to you so that you're sipping it, so that you're not rushing to answer. We have a technique here called the one in one ear and out the other, when, a company may not on purpose try to guilt you, say, because of COVID, we don't have as much budget as we used to. You kind of have to let that information go in one ear and out the other, because women unfortunately tend to be such team players that we forget what we want. And so unfortunately, you have to be the CEO of your own ship, and you have to put what your family will need and what you will require and what you want first. So be sure to ask for more than you need on that first call. Use the in one ear and out one ear technique when they ask you again, what your requirements are. And towards the end, just always blame what you're looking for on the market. Say something like, currently I'm interviewing with a few different companies and this is what they're offering me. So it's almost like you're apologizing, like, oh, this is what I'm being considered for currently. I know that's above your budget. Is there any way that you can, ask for more? And those three steps typically work well for women.
Do you find that companies will often want to retain the employee, and it's worth starting where you are if you're in the right field, but you may make a big salary jump? I think a lot of people think, oh, I have to leave. Is it better to go to your current employer and say, well, I know this is going to be way more than a 5% jump, but this is what I'm going to require?
It's definitely a risk. If you're at a company that's less legacy, so legacy for me are older established companies like a Xerox, right? Typically, they have really strict pay bands and they have strict approval processes. Yes, your direct manager can advocate for you, but I would say it may be more of a challenge or more of a climb in that environment. If you're at a startup or a company that, operates a little bit less traditional, then you probably have more of an opportunity. And for you, I would say, have your strategy be a longer term. So think about 3 months to 6 months. And what you'll do is that you'll start taking on more projects. You'll step up, your output, and then start to have these meetings with your manager about, what would I need to do to really have my salary reflect what the market is dictating right now.
A lot of people think that
possible.
to go into something they love, that it might be starting their own business, being their own boss. What's your take on that?
I think it's wonderful. We're in the internet age, right? It's really easy to start a business online. If you do, just take it seriously. For me, at least, it's we see a lot of ads. I don't know if that's the right term, but a lot of people will make you think that, you can be a millionaire in 1 year or in 2 years. And yes, that's possible, but I think it's kind of false advertisement. So I would recommend just having, taking the long game approach, taking it really seriously, separating yourself from your business and kind of honoring that decision in your life, and giving yourself 4 or 7 years to really intentionally build this special thing that you're building, and not putting too much pressure on it to see, revenue come from it immediately.
Is there one field that's really growing where you're more likely to get a six-figure job doing something, of course, that you love?
Tech. And we'll talk about this for a second. When people think about tech, they think, the gamer guys, hardcore, coding in your basement or just with the white wall and big headphones. And there's so many different career paths in tech. I actually wrote a book with a co-author called Your Career in Tech. And you can be a UI designer. You could be a project manager that sits between the tech team and the business. You can be a product manager. There's so many roles that are in tech or tech adjacent that can encompass a wide variety of personality types and interests. And the field is so hot right now. It's the only field, in my opinion, where you can go to a boot camp and then a year later, if you're in San Francisco, snag a 150K base salary, and it's normal, like no one's batting an eye. So.
Okay. So, and even if you're someone like myself, right, a liberal arts background, folks who didn't do the math, science, STEM route, tech, there's room for those creative types as well?
Absolutely. I am the same way, girl. Like, we're both liberal arts majors, psychology degrees. So no, yes. And perhaps for you, it would be more of maybe a UI designer, and you would be the one that's like bringing all of this beautiful code to life visually. So yes, there's room for us.
Right. And I say us, I'm okay where I've only been here now going on 22 years, but you never know. I started as a child. But no, I think it's so great because I feel blessed to work in a field that a lot of people would have thought it's difficult, maybe take the safe route. I did think about just going to law school and becoming a lawyer, and I'm glad I followed my soul, so to speak. So that's really what attracted me to speak to you, is that people sometimes are picking safety or what they think they should do, and what you're saying is you don't need to sacrifice that. My mother used to tell me, do what you love and the money will come. And that's what you're finding with your clients. If you love it, you'll be successful at it, and you can make that bigger salary, that six-figure salary.
100%. Not only because, if you were to work with Soulwork Six Figures, you're working with a former recruiter who has a deep background in sales, a deep background in branding, and who has hired and interviewed thousands of people. But also now is just such the perfect time because companies are hiring consultants to come in and teach them how to retain their employees, teach them how to attract top talent, and people are resigning left and right. So it's such a good time for you to really slow things down and think about who you are, who you want to be, what you want to leave on this earth. What about your current environment isn't making you happy? You have that choice now. You can actually just dream up the perfect team, the perfect role, and you don't have to have a ton of experience. That's literally what we do all the time, is working with folks that are unhappy. Maybe they have 12 years of experience as a project manager, and they've decided that they want to not enter product, but maybe that could be a course of action, right? Enter product or enter a marketing team or something like that. And we'll pull from, how they've worked with the marketing team in the past, and, how they've helped, friends and family, and we'll build their resume and your LinkedIn using that information. And because they have a career already, they'll interview well, and hopefully their character is aligned, and they'll be able to say yes to an offer that was made for them versus just kind of playing it safe. It really makes no sense to play it safe right now. So if anyone could leave with anything, I would hope they'd leave with that.
All right, follow your soul. And so I want to get people some advice of how they can follow your advice. And you have an event coming up called The Sacred Search. It's March 11th and 12th. And here's the information on your screen. If you're watching this, if you're listening, it's soulworkandselfies.com/sacred search. soulworkandselfies.com/sacred search. And people can join that virtual event and get started with you.
We're so excited. It's going to be amazing. There'll be a sound bath, an inner child and higher self meditation to begin. And then we're going to do all the things to get you branded and confident as you interview. It's going to be really good. So
Well,
Yeah.
Stephanie, pleasure to talk to you. And I love the idea of people finding, doing what they love, because I think that is certainly on the leading edge of wellness. We have to be happy and feel purposeful to be our best self. So thank you so much for being here.
Kara.
And if you want more information on the leading edge of wellness, you can watch more Kara's Cures right on the app. Look for our other interviews here. You can also follow me on social media at Kara Sundlin, or listen to the Kara's Cures podcast on whichever platform you choose. Have a great day and be well.